What's up, guys? I wanted to do the Galaxy S24. It's been about 2 weeks. We've been comparing it to a lot of the older flagships, and I've had a really good time with this phone. It's a really good device. Some phones I thought it was kind of an update compared to the Note 20 Ultra, S21 Ultra. I didn't think it was that big of an upgrade. But some of the older phones, if you guys are holding on to those, I think this is actually a pretty decent upgrade for the most part. There are some downgrades, of course, but I think you are gaining a lot here. Now, what I would say, just to wrap up all of that stuff, is basically I would still probably get the S23 Ultra because it will be coming down in price, and only because this and the S23 Ultra, they're pretty much identical in terms of what they do, especially when the AI features come to the S23 Ultra. It just makes more sense to be able to save money, you know, and just wait for the discount for the S23. So that's what I would do personally, even if I'm coming from, you know, older flagship, or even if you really just want to upgrade to a newer phone, you're on an S21, S22, I would still get the S23 and save, you know, quite a bit of money. Now, I was scared of the titanium frame on this phone because from what I saw with the iPhone, with that scratching up and stuff like that, very easy. This has not scratched up at all. Now, it's only been 2 weeks. I'm sure, like, you know, I just give it more time, but I'm really happy that at least it hasn't scratched up now. Now, I bought a clear case. I was trying my best not to use it. I only put the case on if I'm going outdoors or stuff, you know, stuff like that, if I'm going outside, right? Otherwise, I like to take the case off. I think it defeats the purpose. But with this phone, and I want to talk about that, this is still a super boxy phone, and it's not as comfortable to hold, considering, you know, if you have smaller hands or whatever, or even if you're coming from a phone like the S20, the S21, which has just an excellent shape to it, to where it fits really nice. I noticed if you put a case on it, it kind of like, it doesn't poke as much, but the case does make it a little bit wider as well too, so it does make it a little bit of a strain to hold. I think that's my biggest issue with this phone, is that it's big and it makes a little bit of a strain to hold. That's why I'm going to pick up the S24 Plus to see, you know, how I feel about that phone. But yeah, it is a super boxy phone, but it is a very beautiful phone to look at. That's one of the things that I always admire every time I pick this phone up, is that it's just a really pretty phone to look at. I think Samsung really did an excellent job with the overall design of this phone. It is a little bit lighter as well too, so even though it's a big phone, it's not like crazy heavy. And again, that's depending on which phone you're coming from. If you're coming from something like a S10 Plus, this thing is going to feel massive and it's going to feel much heavier. Now, if you are a display nerd, you'll really love the S24 Ultra. This thing is crazy bright, as you guys can see. It is really bright, and honestly, it's just really beautiful phone to look at, to watch movies on, to play games on. It is really nice. Samsung finally went with a, you know, a flat display, which again, I really like the curved display. I think it makes the phone look a little bit more premium, but I understand the flat display, it makes for, you know, a better experience by putting screen protectors on and stuff like that. But what I like about this is that at least they went with a flat display, but they really slimmed down the bezels on here. So you got the just crazy slim bezels on this phone, which is really impressive. The display is also much brighter this year as well too. It's 2600 nits peak brightness, and yeah, it's just a really easy phone to see if you're somewhere outdoors at the beach and stuff like that. It's just like an ultimate display. Now, Samsung does have to take a L here for releasing the phone with this display glitch problem. And it's not necessarily a display glitch. It's that the phone is nowhere near as vibrant as something like the S21 Ultra, or, you know, even just the S23. It's not as vibrant as those phones. Now, Samsung said this is a, you know, a display problem with the software, so they're gonna fix that, the vividness problem. So, you know, I'm happy when that comes out, because I'm used to seeing the Samsung screens be like, and some people really like the way it looks by itself. I'm really used to the display looking like crazy saturated and vivid. If you have Samsung phones before, you know the look is just a really vibrant, vivid look. This phone, it kind of lacks it a little bit, but it's still a very nice display, and you know, I'll keep you guys updated on that. But this is easily one of the best displays. LTPO, 6.8 inches, 1440p, you know, HDR10 plus, 120 hertz. it's a really beautiful display. Like I said, Samsung really out here making the best displays for the most part. Now, one of the most impressive things with this phone is actually the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor. Now, it's not the speed and the gaming performance. I'm gonna be real, it hasn't really changed that much from the S22 to the, you know, as far as like gaming and just overall, you know, these processors are fast, guys. So it's not like these are minor spec bumps. It's not like crazy. What I like about what Samsung is doing here with the S24 Ultra is they have tweaked One UI. So that's why this is really about One UI, because I've noticed even with the S21 Ultra, these things are crazy fast and crazy smooth. I can't remember the last time I had this phone. I don't know if this phone has ever lagged since I had it or had an animation stutter. And that's largely due to One UI 6.1 just being a beast. And I think this is where Samsung has been refining the software. So we know that these phones are going to be fast when it comes to processor speeds and looking at all that. But I think where it really matters is like animations, right? Like this thing is fast. It's not glitchy. My software experience has been really good with this phone. I'm super impressed with just how smooth One UI is with this phone. So Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, this model is 512 gigabytes, 12 gigs of RAM. So it's crazy fast. And of course, like I said, with gaming, I've noticed this as well, especially coming from I think they fixed this with the S23, but these phones are really cool when you're playing video games like PUBG. Of course, we can run at 90 frames, but I'm talking about in the cameras, like I'm taking videos and all that good stuff. Typically, you would have phones like heating up, especially like with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. That phone heats up a lot when you're playing games and taking videos. The Pixel can kind of heat up a little bit depending on what you're doing. This phone is relatively cool when you're doing pretty much anything on it. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't get warm or anything like that. I just noticed that it's really like, it's not like getting like crazy warm. For me at least. Like typically the phones will get warm right here, but it has really been a pretty good experience for me. Now, I'm not a hardcore gamer or anything like that, but I notice if you know, like when you go take video and stuff like that, you're playing games or you're doing something intense on the phone, you know, you can get just a little bit of warm. It can be a little bit uncomfortable. I don't think a lot of people notice that because most people will have a case on the phone anyway, so they won't notice. But if you do use the phone bare, it's something that you will notice. For sure. But yeah, this phone has been crazy fast, crazy smooth. And I really like that Samsung is not only just trying to like, you know, just put the latest chipset in here, but they're really making sure One UI is really smooth. Now, Samsung did something here with the software experience as well too, which I think is going to be pretty big. I have made a video on it. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about it if you guys want to check that out. But this phone will have 7 years of macOS updates, which I think is a big deal because I think that it will make older flagships a way better bang for your buck in the future for sure. So, you know, when this phone, you can keep this phone for a pretty long time. Now, a lot of people argue that the older flagships are not going to retain value like this phone because of software updates, but I really don't think so. It's something we would have to see, but I really think that it's going to make mid-range phones pretty much obsolete for the most part, because you'll just be able to buy an older flagship and you'll still get years and years of software updates out of it. So that's pretty nice. The only thing I don't like is that it's so far only exclusive to the S24 Ultra, that 7-year pledge. It's not for the S23 or S22 or anything like that. So that's the only unfortunate part, but that's pretty cool that you get such a long lifespan with this phone now. All right, we need to talk about the AI stuff that they introduced. And if you don't like the AI stuff, you think it's kind of weird, well, you're in for a surprise, because the next couple of years, I guarantee, is going to be all about AI. And Apple hasn't even gotten really to AI. I actually think they're quite behind on AI now. But I wouldn't be surprised if the next iPhone is going to be all about AI. So just know that AI is going to be the next big thing. So this is what they're going to be trying to sell you on. I personally think that Samsung's AI thing doesn't really work as well as I would like it to. It doesn't work as the Pixels, as good as the Pixels. So just doing basic stuff like moving stuff around, I always find it weird how they kind of do stuff here. So just like moving the cat to like a different spot here. And I'll show you guys what I mean. it usually will feel something. Oh, now that I'm shooting a video, it doesn't do it. Usually it would do something really random and like fill in an object right there. I'm gonna see if I can do it. It's crazy how it does it when I'm trying to like film. Let's see, what can I do? So I'll move this. And watch, it's gonna work perfectly. Like I'll move it like down here and see what it does. Usually before this, it was putting like a random object, just random stuff on display. It wasn't filling it in like it just did, but I guarantee it's gonna work perfectly now. Yeah, so this is a little bit off for sure right here. This is actually better than what it was doing earlier. So maybe they're fixing on it. I'm pretty sure this is not built into the phone, so maybe this is like something that is constantly learning, stuff like that. But you can see kind of filled in a kind of weird thing. It's not as good as Google's as far as like the editor goes, and this is not something I would really use at all anyway. But yeah, I think the live interpretation interpreter is really cool. It works really well, like talking to different languages, you know, being able to translate different languages in real time. That's really cool. The Samsung Internet one to summarize is okay. Real-time translations doing voice calls is okay. The transcriber works really well for voice recordings and stuff like that. So the AI stuff, it does work, and it is pretty impressive. Except I think for the video editor, I just think it needs, not video editor, photo editor, it needs more work. I do think the #1 useful thing with these this AI stuff is definitely going to be the circle to search. I mean, it's extremely useful. So you just hold down here, and it is really accurate, guys. It's scary accurate. I mean, it works for shoes. You can take a picture of whatever, circle to search. This is basically Google Lens, right, built into the phone. But it is extremely accurate. So I'm going to take a picture of just this S23 logo. And then I'm going to do the circle to search. It should be able to find it. Yeah, it's just really accurate. It's scary accurate. I really like it. Like, it does works on buildings, whatever. Absolutely fantastic feature to have. As far as your additional features, the speaker still sounds really great. And they actually changed the speaker design here as well too. It's more like a little strip now. It's really nice and loud like the S23, and has a ton of bass. You also got the built-in S Pen as well too. I really like that. That is matching the color of the phone as well too. Really sweet. And yeah, it still has essentially all your favorite stuff that you like. Samsung desktop support, secure folders, all that good stuff. All right, so I do want to talk about the cameras. So if you take a lot of photos, this is an excellent camera phone. But like I said, it's not that big of a difference from the S22 and S23 Ultra in my opinion. But if you have a much older phone, I would say if you have a Note 10, Note 9, even a Note 20 Ultra, depending on if you take a lot of zoom shots, this is a fantastic camera upgrade. Now, me personally, I don't take a ton of photos in my personal life, but yeah, I noticed a difference immediately. So I would say from the S20 series, Note 20 series on down, this is actually a big camera improvement, especially with social media and stuff like that. You'll notice it. The video is also much better. So if you're somebody that does take a lot of photos, videos, you're constantly posting on social media, this is a great upgrade. It's a really good upgrade. 200 megapixel standard, 50 megapixel periscope telephoto. Now it's got the new 5x optical zoom, which I think is much better for portrait shots now. Because I really think that's why Samsung did it, and they downgraded it from the 10 times. Now it did take a hit in the 100 times zoom, but you gotta remember how many people are doing 100 times zoom versus doing the 5 times for a portrait shot. So I think that's why Samsung did it. It just makes more sense for the most part. It's not that the 100 times zoom is bad now. It's just not. It's not as detailed, but you know, I think it's worth it. I think they did the right thing. 10 megapixel telephoto lens, 3x optical, 12 megapixel ultra wide. It's using AK30 now. 12 megapixel selfie cam. There's a cool like slow motion feature you can do where you hold down, and this is again like the AI stuff, and then the video goes slow motion. Like I said, this is stuff that I wouldn't personally use. Doesn't matter to me personally, but it's just really cool how this AI stuff is working so well for the most part. But the pictures on here are excellent. Like I said, fantastic photos. If you take a lot of photos, if you have an older flagship, I think this is a good upgrade. Alright, so this is definitely the number one reason why a lot of people who have an older flagship will upgrade. It's probably for battery life, but like I said, you can get the S23 and get similar, battery life with this phone. But I think this phone has even better battery life than the S23, not by a lot, but slightly. It's got a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. My only critique with this phone's battery situation is that I think the phone needs faster charging. I think it needs at least 65 watt charging in my opinion. It's got 45 watts, which is fine, but I just think the charging needs to be faster. It's got wireless and reverse wireless charging. The battery life is excellent on here. It's a world-class battery life here. And yeah, this phone has just been, I don't even think about really charging this phone at all. So that's how good the battery life is. I think this is a solid upgrade, again, for people who have much older phones. But again, you can get the S23 and save quite a bit of money. The only thing that differentiates this from an S23 Ultra is the 7 years of software updates. That's it. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.